Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and Happy New Year's. It is January 2021. This is actually going to be the first episode in a new mini-series called The Road to a 300 Kilo Deadlift. And as it sounds, I'm going to attempt to get my deadlift to 300 kilos. Basically, it's going to have to be a raw deadlift. We'll get into the specifics a little bit later. But that is the goal. It's actually been a goal of mine for a long time. The closest I ever got was a 290 kilo deadlift back in 2011 when I was doing strongman. It would not have passed in a powerlifting meet. There was definitely some hitching or some ramping up the old legs there. In recent times, I had done a 270 to 280 kilo deadlift, which would have passed in competition. I did one of those in 2019, one of those in 2020. So in the last 2 years, I've gotten within 20 or 30 kilos. But it just never happened. The 300 didn't happen. I was focusing on other things at the time. Back in 2011, I decided to focus more on rugby. And then I was just busy with work, traveling. And now I've got the time, I've got the motivation, and I want to hit that 300. So I'm going to take you all along on the ride with me. There are going to be a few guidelines to the deadlift. First and foremost, I want to get it done this year in 2021. As I mentioned before, it also has to be a raw deadlift. So that means I can wear a belt. And apart from that, just chalk up the hands and grip and rip. In terms of what kind of deadlift, conventional or sumo, I haven't decided yet. Historically, I have been a conventional puller, but I have been playing around with some sumo pulls in my training recently, and they seem to feel pretty good as well. So I'm not going to commit to one method or the other just yet. I'm going to see how they both feel as the program progresses. They'll have some video of my lifts, and I'll also basically talk about my programming, what's going through my mindset. And so before I start today's session, first deadlift session of the program, I'll let you know that I am in a volume block now. It's been a little while, and as we know, and as we've mentioned in a previous podcast, accumulation before intensification, which means if I want to get some muscles nice and strong, I need to build up those muscles with some volume first, okay? So I am in a volume block. Now, the volume blocks that we run here at the Strength Institute is not just, standard sets of 10, sets of 8, sets of 12, whatever it happens to be. We like to chuck in a heaviest triple at the start, just to keep you in touch with the strength reps and the strength ranges there. And then we do drop back sets into our 10s, into our 8s, or whatever we happen to be doing that day. I also am going to be doing some slightly less lower rep sets when it comes to my variants. So my sumo deadlifts or my pause squats or my deficit pulls, they will be slightly lower reps. But in terms of total sets, there will be definitely enough volume there for some good hypertrophy, which is the plan at least. Now, you might be asking why hypertrophy is important in a training program when you're trying to get stronger. And the main reason is that it builds muscle cross-sectional area. It means it makes your muscles bigger, and it's well documented through many studies that basically the bigger the muscle cross-sectional area, the more potential it has to produce force. And that's really what we're after when we're looking for heavy lifts. So you got to build that muscle cross-sectional area doing hypertrophy, then you strengthen it up doing your strength training. So like I said today, I'm going to be starting off with a heaviest triple. I'm not going to be maxing it out. The goal is to improve that 3 rep every time that we do it. So I'll only be starting at maybe a 90% for that triple. And then I'm going to drop back down to 4 sets of 10. Now I'm going to be using straps on those 10 just to save the hands a little bit. When I do my deadlifts, I actually hook grip. I don't go over under because I like my biceps. And you can't double over too heavy. Well, I can't at least. So I like to hook grip. It does have a lot of wear and tear on your thumb. And so I don't like doing anything more than really 4 or 5 reps in hook grip. So when I'm doing sets of 10 today, I'm going to chuck the straps on. Now, grip is not an issue. I have held 300 kilos on a deadlift and pulled it from blocks, hook gripping. So I'm not worried about the grip strength. That's why I'm going to allow myself to use straps for those volume sets. Also today, I have some pause squats. Basically, I'm going to be deadlifting twice a week and squatting twice a week. One of each lift, 2 different days. Mondays and Thursdays. So on Monday, I already did my normal squats, my heavy triple, then my volume reps, followed by my sumo pulls. I did 3 sets of 5. Today is the opposite. I'm doing 1 heavy set of 3 conventional deadlifts, followed by my 4 sets of 10. Then I'm going to back that up with pause squats, 3 sets of 5. Okay, now on both days, I'm doing a glute isolation exercise, to high volume, to really get some fatigue set into those glutes. And the reason for that is when I squat and when I deadlift, my knees do buckle in a lot. That's one of the first things that fail or break down in my lift. And that generally is a good sign, it's called knee valgus, when the knees cave in, that your glutes aren't pulling their weight in the lift. So on Monday, I did a lot of banded crab walks to really get the glutes burning. Today I'm going to be doing some glute thrusts or some hip raises, again with the band around the knees. And these are high volume sets, 20, 30 reps, really just trying to get the glutes firing. They're going to get work and the heavy range from the triples, from the tens. So I want to get that really high fatigue in them as well by doing, high volume sets. So that's the plan for today. Another thing you might notice today is that apart from my 3 rep set, the heavy set at the start, everything is going to be done beltless. And the reason for that is that I've probably relied on my gear a little bit too much in the past and started using my belt a little bit too early in my warm-up sets. The belt is a great tool for strength training, don't get me wrong. I love it, and you can lift more with one. But what I noticed when I was doing my volume squats without the belt on Monday was that my erector spinalis, my lower back muscles, were just absolutely pumped, full of blood. They just haven't been used to supporting for that sort of volume. And I think that's really important. And we're talking about, if I want to improve, I need to find my weak spots. I've already identified my glutes as being a weak spot, so I'm putting extra work in there. Another weak spot is when I am pulling a deadlift or when I am doing a heavy squat, is that during the middle of the lift, when my back is really trying to take over, I struggle to hold my shape sometimes. And that's telling me that one, my lower back strength and my core strength probably isn't quite where it needs to be. And so that's why I'm removing the belt basically for this whole first month. Like I said, I will be using it for my heavy triple at the start so I can push a little heavier, but all my volume reps for the deadlift and for the squat will be beltless to really work on that core strength, to work on that lower back strength. And I think that's going to pay dividends in the long run in being able to hold position better during the heavy lifts. I will probably decide, week to week after this first month of when I want to bring that belt back in. But I am really looking forward into how that affects my training load. Basically, I also had really good results doing good mornings for this very reason. The good mornings, unlike the RDLs, very similar muscle groups, your hamstrings and your lower back and your glutes get a lot of work doing RDLs and good mornings. But I found the good mornings much more effective and strengthening up my lower back and being able to help me hold or maintain my shape during my heavy lifts. So they will definitely be making an appearance in this program too. All right, but that's enough chat for today. Let's get out there and let's get some deadlifts done. Cool.
Alrighty, so starting with some warm-up sets here. I got 70 kilos. I'm going to hit 6 reps. Even in the warm-up sets, I am focusing on trying to keep a lot of tension through my arms, through my upper back, not letting my hips slide backwards too early, bringing my chest up with the body as I pass the knees. And you can see here, knees are staying out as they should at 70 kilos, no knee valgus. But as I have said, that is going to be a focus point during this training program. Second warm-up set was 120 for 4. I took a few warm-up sets because it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I have done any deadlifting, and I wanted to make sure that I was thoroughly warmed up, even though I've been doing a lot of squatting. Different movement. Just loading up 160 to the bar now. And the first 3 sets have just been double overhand. I switched to either over-under or hook grip, usually from about 180 onwards. I don't do a lot of over-under grip just because it does put more strain on the bicep of the hand that's facing up, the palm that's facing up. So I generally will opt for a hook grip, especially if it's lower reps. You can see here on my 4th warm-up set, it's 180 just for a single, and that is hook gripped. And that's not a problem at all. So just changing over to 200, which I believe is my last warm-up set on the day. It's going to be a hook grip set as well. And again, just focusing on making sure those knees don't buckle in and taking plenty of tension through the arms and upper back during that lift. So it was moving pretty good at this point. I figured I'd go for a 220. As I mentioned in the lead up, that I wanted to just go about 90%. So if I'm being realistic, I'd probably be able to do maybe a 230 or a 240 for 3 at the moment. So 220 felt like a good weight. It moved pretty quickly, as you can see in the video. there is a little bit of knee valgus. You can see those knees are wanting to pull in a little bit. So I am mentally thinking, keep the knees out. And like I also mentioned in the intro, I'm using straps for the volume. I've no intention of burning out my forearms or my thumbs doing hook grip for sets of 10. There's just no point in that. And like I also mentioned, I have pulled heavy weights from the block, 300 plus kilos. So I know that my hook grip is strong. I will go raw grip up until my volume blocks. But for the volume sets of 10, I'm definitely going to be using straps to save the hands a little bit. I just did 140 for the first 2 sets. Again, without training with the belt, my lower back just gets absolutely pumped. And it's because, the belt does a lot of supporting for you. And like I mentioned, I definitely have been relying on that a little bit too much, which isn't great, but that's something that I'm going to focus on fixing now. So the weight itself is fine. It's moving quickly. It's just by the end of each set, my lower back was screaming at me, and not in a bad way, not in like a nervy pain way or anything like that. It was just muscularly, like it's not used to doing that amount of work and that amount of supporting, which I think is going to be great. It's going to definitely pay off in the long run. I went up to 145 for set 3 and for set 4, I believe. There was definitely more weight in the tank in terms of being able to pull for a set of 10. But like I said, first week back in after about a month off of deadlifting, I still had other sessions to go this week. I didn't want to blow everything out too quickly. So just pacing myself. Over the next 3 weeks, I'm expecting to bring this weight up quite significantly, hopefully, closer to the 170 range for 10s. And with the heavy triple, I guess the goal will be to increase that weight every week. So I might just go up by 5 kilos a week to ensure that happens. And here it is, 4th set, 145 as well for 10 reps. And even though it's a bit lighter, focusing on keeping those knees out as I start the drive, not letting them buckle in for me. Holding shape in the upper back, not letting my shoulders round out. You'll see a little setup before each lift where I tuck the elbows back a little bit. That's just trying to get a bit of tension through the lats so that the bar comes up the shins. It doesn't drift away from the body. And as we all know, if the bar separates and comes forward, you're actually pulling a lot more strain through your lower back. So that's that. And I'll see you guys in the next video.